Menara is a really interesting cooperative game where you're trying to build a tower using different shaped tiles and cylinders or wooden colored pieces that go on specific name spots with the little circles on the tiles, and those cylinders then stack up, and then when you're forced to place a new tile, you got to place it so they balance and don't fall down. You're essentially trying to make a really tall tower. There's different levels of complexity or difficulty that you can adjust by how many columns that each player gets to start with and how high the tower needs to be. This can be very challenging and yet very satisfying when you actually complete it and win as a collective. It's for 1 to 4 players, 8 and up, and it takes about 45 minutes to play. The different colors that you'll find in the columns are going to be restricting where you're allowed to place them on your turn. There's 3 card decks, an easy, a medium, and more of a harder set of cards, and each card on your turn you just draw one from one of the piles that's still available, and on it tells you how you have to place columns out on the board, or that sort of thing. So it'll say you have to add 1, 2, or 3 columns to your available tiles on this tower, or it'll say you might have to place 2 on one tile or complete a tile, and sometimes it'll even ask you to move columns from a higher one to a lower one, or a lower one to a higher one, that sort of thing. And so every time a tile completes with having all of its circles depicted on it filled up, that's when you're required to add a new platform tile somewhere that you can on the board. And they can't stack on top of each other, they don't overlap, and so you have to be able to do that and time it right so that when you're placing the columns, you know that you'll be able to place something. The tiles that you draw to place out on the tower are going to be random. You reach into the box and try to shift around and shuffle them up and grab a tile, and the side of the tile that you're supposed to place is indicated by the card that you just chose. It'll have kind of a white side or a black side, or sometimes it'll show both and letting you choose which side of the tile to place. Some of those sides of the tiles are easier because they have maybe better placement on where those columns are going to be able to stack, and other times they're harder, meaning that there might be less for you to work with, or more scarce color options for you to place columns on. I find this game plays best at 2. I would probably go 3 players as a maximum. Now you could play it up to 4, but it's a game based so much on kind of positioning and strategy of placement, and it's a dexterity game, so if something falls, the less people involved in that, the better, because there's moving around and moving the table and things like that. So I recommend it at 2, maybe 3 players for Menara, but it is a lot of fun. Doesn't play too long, and as you start to build this tower, it just looks great, and you feel like you're accomplishing quite a bit as you're getting higher and higher on these stacked towers. So if you're looking for a fun cooperative that is a dexterity based game, definitely take a look at Menara.